You're listening to The Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really big question, something a lot of you listening might be thinking about.
That's right.
How do you go from being an international student here in New Zealand to actually, putting down permanent roots?
It's a huge aspiration for so many who come here to study. And the good news is New Zealand does have pathways for that.
Exactly. And we want to really zero in on one specific, really crucial part of that puzzle today, the green list.
hmm It's a term many will hear, and it's definitely important to understand. New Zealand has, well, several ways to move from a temporary visa, like a student or work visa, towards residency.
And the green list, as I understand it, flags the jobs that are really in high demand.
Precisely. It lists occupations where New Zealand has identified a real need, and our sort of mission today is to unpack that green list.
Understand how it works and maybe how it can offer maybe a faster or more reliable route to residency for skilled workers, especially those coming out of study.
Yeah, focusing on some key sectors that are often relevant for international graduates.
Okay, so let's start general. For someone listening, maybe they're still studying or just finished. What's the typical path look like, the steps involved?
Sure. So typically, after you finish your studies, you might be eligible for a post-study work visa.
Right.
Depending on your qualification level, that could give you up to 3 years to work here.
That sounds vital, getting that initial New Zealand work experience.
It really is. It lets you get established, find relevant work. After that, or sometimes alongside it, you might look at an essential skills work visa.
Okay.
Now, this one usually needs a job offer. And typically, it's for a job where there's a proven shortage of New Zealanders available.
So a job they actually need filling.
Exactly. Think healthcare, IT, engineering, often big areas here.
And then how does that lead towards residency, towards staying permanently?
Well, after working for a while on, say, an essential skills visa, you could then become eligible for a residence from work visa.
Ah.
And this is really where permanent residency comes onto the horizon, especially if your job is on that green list we mentioned, or your skills are just generally in very high demand.
The green list. Let's dive into that then. You said it lists occupations with critical shortages.
Yes, it's a specific list maintained by the government, identifying roles they urgently need to fill to support the economy and society.
So if your job happens to be on that list,
Yeah.
that's a significant advantage.
Oh, absolutely. It's genuinely one of the most direct and often reliable ways for an international worker to secure permanent residency.
Why is that? How does it make things easier?
Well, the system is sort of geared towards prioritizing these roles. Because the need is critical, immigration processes can be faster.
Faster visas.
Yeah, potentially faster work visa processing. For one, it helps people get into those needed roles quicker.
Makes sense.
And importantly, holding a green list job often puts you on a more defined pathway towards applying for residency later on. It smooths the process somewhat.
Okay, this is really practical stuff. So for our listeners, many international students or grads, what kind of jobs are we actually talking about on this green list? Any key areas?
Definitely. Let's touch on a few big ones. Healthcare is always very prominent.
I can imagine.
Yeah, New Zealand has an ongoing need for skilled healthcare professionals. We're talking registered nurses, doctors, GPs, and specialists, midwives, psychologists, and also aged care workers.
Oh, quite a range.
It reflects the demands on the health system. These roles are critical and often have, well, relatively clear pathways to residency because the need is so consistent.
So healthcare training could be a really solid path. What's another major sector?
IT and software development, that's another huge one.
The tech boom.
Absolutely. New Zealand's IT sector is growing rapidly, so roles like IT specialists, maybe cybersecurity, network engineers plus software developers, systems analysts, data scientists.
Lots of tech roles.
Yeah, if you have those skills, you're likely in high demand. It's all about keeping the country competitive digitally.
Okay, so digital skills are key. What about more traditional industries, like building things?
Good point. Engineering and construction are also frequently featured.
Right, infrastructure and housing.
Exactly. There's a lot of development happening. So civil engineers, structural engineers, quantity surveyors, architects, skilled tradespeople too, sometimes, electricians, plumbers.
So building and maintaining the country's infrastructure creates these opportunities.
Precisely. And then you can't talk about New Zealand without mentioning agriculture and horticulture.
Of course, the primary sector.
Right. It's fundamental to the economy. So there's often a need for skilled workers in things like dairy farm management, horticultural science, viticulture, agricultural technicians.
So again, skilled roles supporting a core industry.
That's the common thread. These green list jobs touch on essential parts of New Zealand's economy and society.
Okay, so we've got healthcare, IT, engineering, construction, agriculture. Why are these specifically the ones international students aiming for PR should maybe focus on compared to, say, other jobs?
Well, the main reason, as we touched on, is that clearer, often faster path to permanent residency.
Okay.
Being in a green list role signals to Immigration New Zealand that you're filling a critical gap. That recognition usually translates into a more streamlined process.
Less uncertainty, maybe.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
A bit more straightforward for both the work visa stages and the eventual residence application. You're seen as, well, essential.
And what about job security?
That's another key factor. Because these are areas of ongoing need, greenlist jobs tend to offer better long-term stability.
Right. The demand isn't likely to just disappear overnight.
Exactly. Which means better job security, often good career progression opportunities, and potentially higher earning capacity down the line. It's about building a sustainable career here.
Not just a short-term gig.
Precisely. Plus, sometimes there are specific incentives or extra support offered by Immigration New Zealand for people in these roles. Maybe priority processing, dedicated advice. It varies, but the focus is there.
Okay, this makes the green list sound very appealing. So for a student listening now, maybe thinking about their future, what practical steps can they take to actually land one of these jobs?
Right. Actionable advice. I think the very first thing is choosing your field of study strategically.
Thinking ahead right from the start.
Absolutely. If permanent residency is a goal, look at fields that strongly align with green list occupations. We've mentioned IT, healthcare, engineering, agriculture. Focusing your studies there is a smart move.
Makes sense. What about while they're studying or just after?
Networking is huge, and building industry connections early on.
How do they do that?
Go to industry events if you can.
Yeah.
Use platforms like LinkedIn, seriously connect with people in your target field, and critically, try to get practical experience.
Internships, part-time work.
Yes, exactly. Even volunteer work in the right area. It doesn't just build your CV, it builds your network and shows initiative. People remember you.
So it's not just about the piece of paper at the end.
Definitely not. And another crucial thing, stay updated on the green list itself.
Because it changes.
It can, yes. It gets reviewed periodically based on New Zealand's economic needs. Jobs might be added, or requirements might shift slightly.
So where do they check that?
The official Immigration New Zealand website is the definitive source. Check it regularly. Don't rely on old information.
Good tip. Keep your finger on the pulse.
You have to. And finally, really work hard to ensure your qualifications actually meet the specific requirements for the green list job you're aiming for.
It might be more than just the degree.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
You might need specific New Zealand-based licenses, or professional registration, or certifications on top of your academic qualification.
Okay.
Understand those requirements thoroughly and work towards meeting them. Don't assume your overseas qualification is automatically enough for every role.
So it sounds like a combination of smart planning with your studies, active networking, staying informed, and making sure you tick all the qualification boxes.
That sums it up pretty well. It requires focus and effort, but the green list provides a clearer target for students serious about building a future here.
Fantastic. So to wrap up, the green list really is a vital tool, isn't it, for any international student in New Zealand thinking about permanent residency?
Absolutely. It signposts where the critical needs are.
And the benefits seem clear. A more direct path to PR, potentially better job security, and good career prospects in really important sectors for New Zealand.
It's about aligning your skills with where the country needs them most. Find that intersection.
So if you're an international student or planning to be one, definitely get familiar with the green list. Aligning your plans with it could be a really smart strategy for staying long-term.
It's worth the research and planning.
Definitely. Well, if you found this deep dive useful, please do give us a like and hit that subscribe button for our channel. This is your Study Abroad podcast, bringing you insights like this.
We appreciate the support.
And leave us a comment below. Do you have questions about the green list or other PR pathways in New Zealand? Let us know. Plus, remember, just by listening, you're also sharpening your English skills.
That's right. Keep listening to learn English from this podcast.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a topic relevant to your study abroad journey. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.